Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources.
I'm Kerry Fink, and welcome to Helping Seniors Television. This is the arm of Helping Seniors that is dedicated to helping you develop your own aging plan. And as you know, on behalf of our president and founder, Joe Steckler, it's a pleasure to have you joining us today. You know, Helping Seniors has been serving the Space Coast for about a dozen years now. We operate the County Senior Information Helpline at 321-473-7770. That's a free call and connects you to information that will help you in developing your own aging plan. We also are a leading publisher, if you will, of information that is valuable to seniors and their families that love and care for them, that is designed to help you on your aging plan. And then we advocate for seniors every opportunity we have with governments and businesses that are impacting our seniors here in Brevard County. As I mentioned, our president and founder, Joe Steckler, he's the guy that got the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation rolling. They created Joe's Clubs, which serve seniors in Brevard County to this day. And had the chance to meet Joe as he was forming up the Helping Seniors organization, because he said, Kerry, he said, what I've come to understand is that seniors oftentimes face a lot of issues that go well beyond memory challenges and things like that. And we need a nonprofit that's going to serve in that capacity. So Joe is a retired Navy captain. As you may recall, his last command in the Navy was he was in charge of the Navy's retirement home there in Mississippi. And so today our topic is going to be talking about how we get information in the hands of seniors and families so that they can make the best decisions along the way on their aging plan. And again, just so I say it sort of a little bit for the record, what's an aging plan? Well, we're here in Florida, so we pretty well understand when somebody says you need a hurricane plan. Doesn't mean you want a hurricane anywhere near you, but it does mean you'll have some ideas and procedures in place and how you want to move in case they tell you a hurricane is imminent. Well, an aging plan is sort of the same idea. We want to be prepared for some of the things that we might run into along the way. And so as part of that, early on in the Helping Seniors organization, we decided that we needed to start getting information into the community that would help people just kind of work their way through some of the challenges that we've learned over time on the Senior Information Helpline seniors are going to face. So one of the very good friends of the Helping Seniors organization going back many, many years, almost I think to the inception of it, is a guy who is no stranger. In fact, I would call him an expert on senior information. I'm talking about my good friend, John Frederiksen, who is the publisher of the very popular Senior Scene magazine. How are you today, John?
Doing great. Glad to be here. It's a great organization, and I love being a partner with it, and many years to come. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, you've been such a blessing to this organization. I always tell people think it's easy to be a nonprofit, and nothing could be farther than the truth. Because on the one hand, the only reason Helping Seniors exists is to serve our community. There is no other motive. It is a service nonprofit. But at the same time, if people don't support the work of Helping Seniors, it can't do its work. And yet, that was one of the reasons I think when Joe was first getting the organization started, he said, Kerry, I need to get information out the same way we did when I was trying to get the Joe's Clubs built for Brevard Alzheimer's. And so we had the very good, I guess, fortune of meeting together with you and saying, maybe you could help us on this journey. And you've been doing this senior thing here in Brevard County. We were talking before the cameras rolling, since 2006, and your roots go back even farther to doing Senior Scene magazine back to 2000.
Right. And interesting you mentioned about Joe's last command. We were within 2 miles of that particular location where he was. I don't know about the same time, but yeah, the Navy home was right up the street from where we were, where our offices were, and quite a coincidence there. But yeah, it's been quite a while and quite a ride.
Yeah, you know, because you were telling me that you started Senior Scene actually there in Mississippi, and then as you and your wife came to Brevard County, you brought Senior Scene magazine with you. I think you said 2006. So you've been publishing consistently. We were trying to do the math before the show. I got this wrong. He got it right because his background is that of an electrical engineer. 16 years. Did I say it right?
That's right.
So how did the idea of coming up with a magazine that would give seniors here on the Space Coast this kind of information, how did you decide on that, and why was it important to you to launch that?
Yeah, well, I'll have to admit that I wasn't plugged in or as aware of the need of the senior population there in Mississippi. Certainly not the point of advocacy that you folks are. But I did see that in the local media there, in the newspaper, for example, they weren't getting the information, they weren't getting the coverage. It didn't seem like the senior population was important to the media. So we conceived this particular idea and played it out with the local merchants and the readership, and it did well. It did well, but it was a need that needed filling, and we saw that there on the coast.
Well, interesting enough, and you bring it to Brevard County when you guys come here, and the fact is, this is an area that is, we always go, if you're in Brevard County, the statistics are 1 in 4 of us is over the age of 65. And even if you want to be using the AARP definition, they'll send you a senior card when you turn 50. That's 1 out of 2 people. So one of my expressions that I like to use is you're either are a senior in Brevard County, love and care for a senior, or God willing, in a very short period of time, you'll be a senior. So everything we talk about is of importance. But as you brought Senior Scene magazine to Brevard County and you started to think of the information that seniors would need, you really cover a wide range of information in a Senior Scene. Tell somebody that may not know the magazine, I think that's hard to imagine that there are many in Brevard that wouldn't, but if you were to meet somebody for the first time and say, I published Senior Scene, let me tell you what it's about, how do you explain it?
Yeah, I like to use the term lifestyle magazine. It's not necessarily the day-to-day information you might find in a newspaper covering local groups that meet or things along that line, but it's more interest in the areas of finance and health, entertainment, nostalgia. So it's an interesting mixture of different topics that would be of interest and entertainment to the senior population.
You know, one of the things that I hear the comments all the time, first of all, the magazine is free. You make it available to seniors and their families around Brevard County, absolutely free of charge. I think the website says there's more than 500 pickup points in Brevard County. And I know from personal experience, when we're out with the Senior Scene organization and we're at some of the senior expos and some things, the first thing people run up and say, we love Senior Scene, do you have my copy? And so it's always a pleasure to hand those out. But there's a couple of things that you do that's really unique about it. You're always focused on local talent, everything from covers to articles and things like that. Talk about how the process of putting a magazine together like that.
Right. Well, I've always been in awe of people that have this type of artistic talent. I'm just not wired to do, engineering term, that kind of artistry. Yeah. And I just love to display it on the cover and give those people the exposure that they deserve. And it's just a very vibrant, I think there's, last I heard, 300-400 active artists, senior artists. Wow. In the county here. And their breadth of works is just amazing, and we love to put them on the cover. And then there's also a lot of professionals in the county that I have come to know over the years and respect their opinions and their knowledge, and they'll be contributing articles to the magazine too. And we get feedback from the readers that they've sometimes clipped the information and kept it by their computer side or whatever with the information that's there. We try not to get too in-depth with a particular subject, but cover it to give people the knowledge they might need.
You know, one of the things I was smiling about when you talk about the depth of the information and the coverage, I can tell you also from having been at a lot of these senior expos, people will come back, particularly because we have a lot of snowbirds here. They'll spend the summer up north and they'll come back down in the fall, and then they'll stop by the table and say, okay, I've got this month's copy. Do you have any? Because I missed the ones that I didn't get to read over the summer. But I think that's actually a testimony to the caliber of the writing and the information that goes into each copy of Senior Scene.
Yeah, the articles in general will not be tied to a particular date or event, but yeah, there'll be information in past issues that are still current and topical, and people hold on to it for that reason.
They do. I hear the comment all the time about the quality and caliber and showcasing the local artists. But there's another thing that people do pick up Senior Scene magazine, and this is actually for a pretty timely purpose. I can't tell you how often I meet people who say, I need the calendars that are in here, because that's a very important part. You really go to great lengths to publish a lot of information about everything that's going on in Brevard County. And we're a huge county, right? 72 miles north to south, so you have to know what's going on in Titusville if you're up on the north end of the county, and you have to know what's going on the south end if you're, say, down in Barefoot Bay or Palm Bay or something like that. So you really have a big job cut out every month to try to get all that, but that seems to be something people are always looking for in Senior Scene. Talk about it.
Right. It's been a bit of an amazement to me that there are senior centers, community centers, libraries, and they will have their monthly activities, some one of a kind, some every month, but quite a variety of events, activities that need publicizing. And we'll put that, we have two calendars. One is a general calendar for events that would apply or be of interest to most folks, and then we have a senior calendar for organizations and events that are geared towards the senior population. But there are quite a few, and I've gotten requests for subscriptions from people out of town that want to keep track of what's going on. Either they have family here, or they were snowbirds and, you know, were wondering what might be going on when they return.
Yeah, and I noticed too, like, you know, how does a magazine work, especially a free one? Well, it works because you put together advertisers that see the value of basically marketing what they do through the Senior Scene magazine. What kind of advertisers are appropriate? Like if you go out and you're meeting a business and you say, here's a reason why you should consider advertising in the Senior Scene magazine, what do you talk to them about?
Well, first of all, I try to let folks know, keep them away from the stereotypical image of seniors. You'll find advertisers in here that are in entertainment, whether it's a movie theater or Disney. So it's not just an repeat of an image that we're trying to avoid when we talk about seniors. But anybody that's interested in reaching a senior with their message or expanding their customer base into the senior population where you know, there's a good amount of disposable income, and it's a good market, and our seniors are there. Yeah,
well, as I will say, if you're doing business in Brevard County, almost by definition, you're doing business with seniors. And that occurs not only to businesses that we might think of that provide services directly to seniors, but, you know, just because of the sheer numbers, seniors are buying cars, they're eating out at restaurants, they're looking for things to do, they're considering vacations. There's all these different categories that are open to you to promote in the Senior Scene magazine. And so I guess you find you get a pretty wide variety of the different types of advertisers who get involved.
Yeah, it is somewhat of an education process when you talk to these folks. But in Brevard County, businesses that are here do understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they do see the value of the senior market and the need to reach out to them.
Yeah, and I was going to say one of my favorite parts of the magazine, I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, is because early on, Joe Steckler, our president, he said, Kerry, he said, we really got to do a newsletter and get information out in the hands of seniors and their families so they can really work on this aging plan idea. And you can't, Nancy Deerdorf, who's our operations director, she has this expression, you don't know what you don't know. And because we're running up on unknowns all the time in the aging process, having that voice of experience can be so, first of all, it can be so beneficial as to trying to figure out how to chart course around a certain situation that's coming up, but then also to resolve a best way to tackle that. And so because of that, Joe was like, we should publish this newsletter. And at first we were talking about, well, maybe we just need to stick it in the mail to people who are connected to helping seniors. And you came up with a great idea. So, well, why don't you guys just throw some pages in the center of the magazine, and that becomes sort of the Helping Seniors newsletter for, so I don't remember how many years now, but for the vast majority of our existence, we call it the Yellow Pages because we decided to put kind of like a little border around it so that people would understand. It's almost like a publication within a publication, but it's been very, very beneficial because we'll hear people who will access the columns and the senior information that's in there. In fact, I think you contributed an article recently to the Helping Seniors newsletter, even though you're the publisher of the magazine. But that's been really valuable because it reaches, literally tens of thousands when you talk about the readership of the publication around Brevard County. And so for a very small little nonprofit organization trying to reach a wide audience, you've really been a great help to us to be able to let the market know the things that are going on in the senior world.
Right. Yeah, our distribution, of course, the print version, which our seniors love to hold and read, are a lot of email accesses through different organizations on the, well, I was going to call it the coast, but here in Brevard, that will send this out also in digital form every month. So yeah, there's a lot of folks seeing the newsletter and getting the information that you folks have to provide.
Yeah, and I was going to say also, as time has moved along, not only is the print edition a valuable property, because I can tell you people, they say, I keep these, they love the artwork, they love the articles, they keep them on the shelf. But in today's world, now they can share stuff. Maybe they have family who's living in another part of the country, say, did you see the July issue or whatever month that we happen to be talking about? And they can say, you can just go to seniorscenemag.com and pull up the whole issue right there online. So people who are like, oh, I don't deal with paper, they can still read the whole publication online. And I guess you're seeing a good reaction to all that too.
Oh, right. It's interesting that we'll get questions from different folks around the country that have picked up a copy that way, electronically. Yeah, it's got a very encouraging reach that way.
Yeah, and I guess, not only do you highlight certain articles that are in the publication, but you literally can read the entire publication online now too.
Yeah, the whole magazine is there with different links to different organizations, civic organizations, municipal organizations in the county that folks can explore, whether they're wanting to visit the area or whether they already live here. It's a resource from that perspective.
And you can also go back and find back issues on the website too.
Yes, there's quite a library of back issues and articles that a person can research and spend a good amount of time doing their reading that way.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, one of the things I always enjoy pulling the magazine out every time a new issue comes out is I don't know if you call it this, but I call it like you have a show business page and you're always talking with somebody who's maybe a person we know from television or song or something like that. And it's just a neat article that brings all that. So you have a great variety of topics that you cover. It's not all just, You seem to cover a whole gamut.
Yeah, we'd have like in the table of contents called the nostalgia, and there's both a monthly article of local history where somebody has written about their experiences when, like, the city of Cocoa was forming, or when they would go fishing in Indian River with their grandparents. So there's that kind of nostalgia in there, and then also the entertainment, where you'll find some interviews with folks you and I would know better than the new generation, but actors, actresses, that want to tell their story, and that's fun to read.
Yeah, and there's another area that we should talk about. It's actually an area where we collaborate together, you, Senior Scene Magazine as the magazine, and then Helping Seniors of Brevard as the Florida nonprofit, because one of the things that both of us have been consumed with is making sure that seniors and their families know of some good trusted resources that they can access, kind of by category. Somebody says, hey, I'm in a situation where I want to look at some options for assisted living, or hey, I just need a good, handy person because I got these projects around the house, or things like that. And so I don't know how many years ago, but a few years back, we decided to work together and create a thing called Helping Seniors Directory. And that's kind of a joint effort between you as the magazine publisher and us as the Helping Seniors organization to try to put a kind of, in the old days they called it the yellow pages, right? You would pull out a phone book and you would say, I need a plumber, and you would go P for plumber, and there would be the A+ plumber, and then the triple A plumber, and you know how the book was laid out. But this is even better, because you can just go to the website, helpingseniorsdirectory.com, and you can type in what you're searching for, and it'll pull up everybody in the directory. But not only that, it's published every month inside the Senior Scene magazine, where the actual directory is in print too. So whether you're electronic or whether you're going on online, you can get the same information. And I think it's very valuable for a number of reasons, John. Not only many times we're running up on these categories for the first time. We may know where to go buy tires, or may not, but maybe it's the first time that we've had to ask about Medicare insurance, and we need some numbers of people that we might be able to get in contact and trust about that. Or maybe we've run into a thing that requires elder law help, and so now there's a place you can go get those numbers. But I was thinking about it's not only that, John, it's also the ability to get this information to people who are now new to the area, because this area is exploding with it. We keep hearing it on the news how many people are moving, from up north out west, and they're coming to Florida, and they don't have the background of 20 years of experience to know, well, this is who we call about that. Talk a little bit about why the directory is important.
Well, yeah, as you're implying, it was developed out of need. I would field phone calls where a senior would call in, where can I find somebody to help me with a legal matter or with a medical issue? And so we would forward them to organizations we were aware of. And that's kind of one of your charters to begin with.
Absolutely.
So we both organizations saw the need for this type of reference or resource, and decided it would be best to put it together with some confidence that we developed ourselves in these providers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, in the old days, we used to say it matters if you have a good Rolodex, right? Who's in your Rolodex. Today, I think we call it a contact list or something. I don't know what we call it now. But the point is, it's still a valid point that you need to have the right information at your fingertips, the right phone call, the right number to call, the right email address, the right website to go look at as you're researching what your options are as a senior. And I think that's one of the most important things that you bring when you bring Senior Scene Magazine to this market every month, is kind of a fresh new look at everything that's going on. If you were going to kind of sum up to somebody and say, here's my big reasons for you to read Senior Scene each month, what would you say?
Good question. It's a resource. Foremost, it's information to help our senior residents through their day-to-day needs, whether they know it or not.
Right.
This can bring up, an article can bring up a topic that they hadn't thought about and look to the future and explore even further. And then there's also the entertainment value. You know, we need some uplifting entertainment. You know, we can read about the past history of the area and see what kind of interesting aspects are behind the growth of Brevard County.
Yeah.
Or we can read the behind-the-scenes story of a Hollywood celebrity that we didn't know about them, and just enjoy that kind of reading.
Yeah, it's a great publication, folks. We've been talking with John Frederiksen with Senior Scene magazine. He's the publisher of it, kindly lets us tag along for the ride each month as the magazine goes out to tens of thousands of people around the county who read it and look forward to getting Senior Scene each month. The website is seniorscenemag.com. You can find newsletter and more information, the Helping Seniors Directory, everything on helpingseniors.brevard.org. Well, John, it's a great partnership. We look forward to continuing to work together for years to come. We're so appreciative of what you do and help us in reaching the community here.
Well, I'm the one that has really enjoyed the partnership and appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your advocacy and what you're doing for the seniors here in Brevard County.
Thank you. And thank you, viewer, for joining us today for Helping Seniors TV. We'll see you next time.
I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.